Hey guys, SeanB here, and today we are going to talk about our prediction for the upcoming balance patch that should happen by now, but we don't see any of that. And today I also have expert opinion from Once in Love here with us. So I have somebody to talk with me instead of me talking out of my ass. So hey, Once in Love, welcome to the Budget Island Grown podcast.
Good to see you, Sean. Thank you for having me on the Budget Podcast. I appreciate it. I know you could have picked anybody, but thank you for choosing Budget, me. Appreciate you.
Before we go into the video, there's another giveaway by Once in Love. He's giving you guys real Summoners War stuff, not $100 pack, but real shit, okay? You can touch that. So there's a link down below for you to join the giveaway. Click on that to join the giveaway or to find out more how to join the giveaway, okay? According to my conversation with some of the staff, I don't think it's gonna happen next week because the note might be out maybe next Tuesday, Wednesday, and then it should be updated on Thursday, which is like New Year's, and nobody want to work on that day, so probably not gonna have anything next week, potentially. So maybe on like the first week of January, we should see a balance patch, and I think that's where the new season starts as well, right? So just kind of nice. Should be.
So Special League ends January 3rd at I believe 7 a.m. PST. So
January
I think they're
4th?
going to wait a week. I
Really?
honestly think they're going to wait a week before we get this. Yeah. And the reason I think we're going to wait a week is because we're now allowed to use Street Fighter units. I think they want to give it a little bit of time to see how they interact. Maybe even 2 weeks at the absolute latest.
All right, we'll go by element from fire to dark, and in each element we will talk about stuff that we want to see from different perspective, RTA, Guild War, and stuff like that, to see what kind of change we can expect to have and what kind of change that we really want to have in the upcoming balance patch. Of course, this is just our opinion. You have your favorite unit you want to get buff, or your most hated unit you want to get nerf. Just let us know in the comment section down below as well. So let's start off with fire. What do you want to see?
Rakan. I want to see Rakan have a change to his skill 3.
I see.
So right now, Rakan skill 3 is a single target strip. It strips 1 buff, and then you can provoke for 1 turn. Now, when it's on cooldown, it has a 30% chance to counterattack, and when it counters, it does 75% of damage. What I want Rakan to have is, when he uses skill 3, he gets 2-turn threat state. And the reason I want 2-turn threat state, or even maybe, 2-hit, maybe even 3-hit threat state, is threat state lowers the amount of damage taken, which inherently makes your Rakan tankier. And I think it would be just enough to make Rakan more of the threat in Guild Wars defense, and also he would be more usable in things like anti-Leo and RTA, or even just like bruiser teams in RTA.
I see. I think the skill 3 is a pretty strong skill. Big damage, strip, provoke. In one skill, I think it's okay. It's not too bad. They nerfed him in the past because he was really strong when he was the only fire threat in the meta by, I think, lessen the damage in his revenge.
Yeah, they dropped the damage from 100% to 75%.
I think first they could just revert that real quick, please. And I think the thing about Rakan that I've always have a very iffy feeling about is his stats. He has attack buff, but his skill is mixed between attack and HP. So it's always awkward to build this guy. You can actually build him full attack and he's still gonna do okay-ish damage. So if you want to make him a full HP bruiser, skill 1 HP scaling, change the attack buff to speed, and I think it's gonna be pretty solid as a unit. So I think skill 3 is still strong if you just change the buff and not give him like the attack kind of in there as a HP unit. Is kind of weird.
So that's kind of why I wanted him to have the threat state, because threat state makes him tankier, which means you can run more attack subs. So like inherently, you'll also do more damage. You can kind of shift the build options. People have always traditionally built their Rakan's HP, crit damage, HP, but I think that speed, crit damage, HP, or attack, crit damage, HP are very viable in Rakan. When I run Rakan, I usually have plus 1000 attack, maybe a little bit more. With artifacts, you can run even more now.
One way I use Rakan is I just use him with Leo and I build him with 0 speed, so I don't have to worry about any speed at all. And he's he kind of work in the Leo comp as well. Tanky bruises kind of makes sense. It's not a bad unit, but also a thing about Rakan I think is the duration that you need to wait between the big nuke is really long. So in the time between, you don't really do anything besides tickling your enemy with skill 1 that usually does nothing as well. So
you really need to hit the counter collapse to really get the mileage out of him. Otherwise, it doesn't feel as strong.
Yeah, so some sort of way to shorten the duration between each nuke would be nice. Because compared to Zeratul, who's kind of similar, self-buffing, Zeratul do damage every turn. Rakan, you gotta wait a little bit.
I also want to change Jogun. I don't need any significant change to Jogun. I think he's actually pretty okay the way he is. I like that he has the accuracy awakening. I would like to see either 1 turn cooldown less on skill 2, or if they keep it the way it is, I would like them to make it irresistible, but also make the duration a tiny bit shorter.
Yeah, because
so that way, like,
skill 2, it doesn't do anything.
Yeah, so that's why either I want like the lower cooldown so it's less punishing, or I want it to be irresistible and just make it less strong when it does land, right?
True.
I think either of those seems to be fine. But overall, Jogun's like, he's cool, but he's not quite where he wants to be in a place to make him consistent enough. Because he's kind of like Sekhmet, except Sekhmet at least gets benefits if she misses.
True. I love this unit, personally. Great slow cleave unit with a strip into attack buff. If I want to change this guy, I would do one thing only, which is to make skill 3 not hit the enemy, so Vert cannot counter me. And I think that's huge, and also very good into things like ragdoll and shit. Just make it doesn't hit the enemy and do something else, and I think that would be pretty cool. So strip attack buff, maybe some sort of attack bar manipulation, and doesn't hit the enemy. That'll make him like super solid. So one fire unit that I would like to see some change would definitely be the Fire Slayer, or the Fire, what do you call that thing? M Bison, the Fire M Bison. So to me, he feels like a budget-ish betterness with the AoE skill that control the enemy with attack bar reduce, stun, speed debuff. So it's like mix between a lot of fire AoE unit, but he does nothing consistently. Each hit would do 1 debuff only. So it goes
in order.
Yeah, so it's not gonna be like each hit has a chance to do all 3. It really that bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice because it has speed break with the stun, but the attack bar decrease of 30% is kind of a little bit on the lower side for what I'd want it to be, especially when there's a unit like Chongpong who has 75% per hit, right?
If all 3 things happen, it's really strong. It's like it shut down the entire enemy team. But a lot of times, nothing really happened. So it feels really awkward trying to use him to control the enemy when you don't really do anything.
Just make it crushing hits. Always crushes. You can always use it against Molly. You can always use it against water units.
And you're not scared of like Ragdoll too, right?
Yep. You're not scared of Ragdoll because you never crit.
Yeah, I think either make it crushing hit or make it more consistent. I think that'll be pretty solid. Or maybe make it like this skill cannot be countered.
That would be kind of cool. There's a lot of units, so that actually became a really popular thing in Epic 7. They like added this skill cannot be countered to like a whole bunch of new units. Because people were just getting too frustrated. But it makes sense. I mean, triple Revenge Vert is the bane of everyone's existence right now.
Also, I would love to see a buff to this one particular 2A, which is the Fire Werewolf. He's like a very selfish fire tank. And he's a HP type unit. His skill 1 can allow him to heal according to the damage that he can do, but it doesn't scale with HP. So if you build him with a lot of HP, his skill 1 would do nothing, and it will recover nothing. And his passive only works for him. I would love for him to get some sort of team-based effect, so make the passive maybe affect the entire team, so that when you have him in the team, then your healing become like insane. So he can kind of compete with Commune as a protector support-ish unit in guild battle, so that you can diversify the fire unit in the meta a little bit as well in Guild War, because HP type unit, right? So I think that would be cool, because now there's no reason to use this guy, and he's just an overhealing selfish tank that, compared to Vigor, who's a very strong tank damage dealer and team-based unit, this guy just seems very sad, like a lone wolf, literally.
I think it'd be cool if they added a passive, like added onto the passive where it says like, additionally heals the lowest HP ally by the same amount that you are healed by, or something like that. That'd be cool. So he heals himself and he heals somebody else when he does damage. Then he'd be like a damage dealing sustain unit. I think it's okay because he doesn't have defense break, so he's like not actually super scary, but he could be strong, right? If we gave him enough, he could be strong.
What about Nat 4? Do you want to buff any Nat 4 family or Nat 4 fire unit?
The Nat 4 family that I'm most interested in seeing buffed is actually right behind me, right there, right there.
Oh.
I really want to see the Nine-Tailed Foxes buffed. I'd like to see a change to them. Right now, Shihua is just relegated to a BJR5 lead and nothing else. She has 2 of the cutest transmogs in the game, so you know, more reason to use my transmogs. But I think we could use a slight change to the way that their skill 3 works, or maybe just like the bounce of their stats. It's hard because they're units that feel very one-dimensional. Obviously, I'd like to see them changed in a way that we could make them more viable, but off the top of my head, I don't know what that actually is right now. So I guess if anyone in the YouTube comment has any ideas, I'd love to hear them for Nine-Tailed Fox changes.
I think the Wind one is definitely a good unit, and everybody knows that. Very solid unit for Giants. But the rest of the family feels kind of meh. They do have multi-hit. And
the Dark one is actually really good in Special League and in 4-star League.
With the stun
one
right?
is really bad.
Yeah, the light one just feels really
the critical hit chance thing. This guaranteed stun critical hit, and then you get the sleep, which recovers an extra turn.
Yeah, a buff to the Nine-Tailed family would be nice because they're like one of the original family in the game, and they're like old. So an improvement to some of the older family whose skill set are kind of outdated would be really, really nice. All right, let's move on to the water department. So what do you want to see in the water department?
Obviously, everyone's favorite. I'd love to see an Ariel rework. I don't want to see a buff. I don't want to see a buff. I don't want Ariel to be a healing machine. Another Praha, another Lulu, and I don't want that. We have Praha, we have Abelio, and we have Lulu. We have 3 unique, separate, different healers. Now, if they kept him as a healer, I want to see some sort of like anti-revive passive built in there or something, or like, you know, he like AoE provokes when he uses skill 3 or something. I don't know. I want these different things to kind of come in with it. But my main idea is I want Ariel to be a damage dealer. I want him to be like water. I don't know. I want him to be like a water version of like an Artemil. Like when you see it, you're scared of that thing because it does a lot of damage, right? It doesn't have to, revenge on counter and stuff, but I just think it would be cool.
Man, that would change him entirely.
I've also seen some ideas where people were like, yeah, every time you heal a unit with Ariel, it just steals HP from the enemy. I was like, that's kind of cool, actually. It's kind of toxic, but kind of cool.
So they made anti-cleanse debuff. Maybe one day they will make anti-strip buff. So when you buff that, enemy cannot strip you.
Maybe.
Yeah, in that skill 3, right? So make it more impactful. I think the skill 2 of Ariel is now a joke with Lulu's skill 2 exists. That heal, cleanse, buff immunity at the same time. That is just crazy. This thing heal 50%. That's a big amount. But it has 3 turn cooldown. Lulu's skill has 2 turn cooldown. And it does so many things.
They need to make Ariel's Awakening affect the skill 2. If they want to keep them the same way, the Awakening has to affect the skill 2.
Yeah, so the Arta Miao can be the same, right?
No Arta buff.
But they do have things like Tian Lang and Mo Long skill. They're different. So I think it doesn't need to stick to the consistency that much. They can just make this skill an entirely different skill, and I think it's gonna be fine. But yeah, I mean, we have so much healer nowadays already, like a lot of different healers. So an over healing machine, not a good idea. He needs some cleanse, he needs some buff. He needs to be more than just healing, for sure. Oh, another unit that I want to change in the water department that's similar to this Archangel is Camilla. I think she's okay. I mean, she's fine. As how, like, her job is to tank Odin, her job is to be annoying in arena defense. We all know that. But she's really boring. Like, she used to be like, oh, you got Camilla, that's cool. Now you got Camilla, it's like, oh, okay.
I got Camilla for my first transcroll, actually. Camilla was my first transcroll unit.
Like, She's just really,
Back in that day,
really
I was hyped.
boring.
You know, I was like, I'm getting G1 in Arena, boys. Like, I was hyped. You know.
So I think she needs some change because now she's kind of really, really boring. I think above the skill 2 to do something a little bit different, that would be cool. I think skill 3, would you keep that the same or would you change it to something else?
I think for Camilla, if I wanted to change anything, I would probably change the passive to have like some sort of RNG to it. So like Camilla passive now has like a 20% revenge chance or something like that. just because like you can't, she doesn't have that much threat, right? Like you're not scared of Camilla. She's just there. She's just annoying to kill. But now it's like, if she's annoying to kill, it's like, okay, but now she revenges you. It's like, whoa, wait a minute.
I think she should fall in line with the Chroma, where your passive not only protect yourself, but also protect the team. So her passive name is First Aid. It should be First Aid for the entire team as well, because a Chroma passive is God Shield. And the God Shield have anti-crit for the team. So Camilla should have some sort of team-based effect as well. Doesn't need to be like insane, but something similar to what she's having.
Reduces critical damage by 15%. That would be pretty nuts. I think that would be nuts.
She's self-cleansed, right? So maybe she should have some sort of that, but for the teammates. So maybe reduce the debuff duration to 1 turn when she's on the field.
What about every time she cleanses? So for every debuff she cleanses, she heals her allies by a small amount. Kind of like Vero.
Oh.
Except better. It's better than Vero.
Maybe just not heal, but attack bar boost.
Yeah, that could be cool too. You know, if you cleanse off like a debuff, you get like 5% attack bar for everybody.
Just like a mini ragdoll, kind of, but definitely not as aggressive as ragdoll. So I think that might be interesting, so that she's more team-based. I hate units that just stand there and on their own, do their own thing, and it feels like
Trevor,
you don't really belong in the team.
That's me when I use Trevor. I'm like, all right, guys, everyone can die. Trevor's gonna solo.
Yeah, it just, I don't know. When you pick water unit, you always think Vigor, because Vigor is team-based. It's fun. But when you pick Camilla, just sit there and hope that maybe in RTA the timers run out, or in Guild War you put a join your Camilla and you hope that she's gonna destroy everybody to a point that you can grab lunch and go for a smoke break and she's still not done with the fight yet. So some sort of team thing I think will be nice. What else do you think in the water department can use a small buff to the skill?
Farad.
I think
Farad is outdated. 93 base speed. Has amazing stats, amazing HP, amazing defense. But 93 base speed is trash, right? Farad's skill 2 is trash.
Facts. Compared to Tyron's skill 2, this is a joke.
80% chance to freeze, and that's it. It doesn't do anything else. It just has an 80% chance to freeze.
Make it 100.
Why?
Like, what's wrong with that?
Tyron exists, right? Like we said, Tyron, AoE attack reduction, has AoE slow debuff built into his kit, has glancing. I think Farad, skill 2 should be multi-hit. And it should be freeze and attack bar reduction. It should be like, I think it should be a 50% chance per hit to freeze and reduce attack bar by 20%.
I see. Or absorb attack bar.
If no freeze, it should be 30% attack bar and 2 turn slow debuff.
Yeah, because I would never pick Varad over Tyron in any PvE content nowadays. The only Varad has more than Tyron's damage. Sorry?
The only time you'd ever pick Varad is because he's tankier and he has an accuracy awakening, so you don't have to run accuracy slot 6.
Yeah, but
if you're using PvP.
Tyron's so good, man. You pick Tyron in TOA Hell, you reduce the speed requirement for your entire team by 20, and it's just so nice.
Pretty good.
And also, skill 1 of Dragon, we've been asking that since day 1. Skill 1 of all Dragon. They need to do something, man. Even like something that has 15% chance to happen. They need to do something.
I think all dragons should correspond with their element. So Varad should have like a 20% chance to freeze or like a 30% chance to freeze. Zyros should have like a 50-60% chance to put 1 continuous damage. Jamire can have a chance to do like, slow, I don't know, attack break or like slow debuff or something. The light one has like a chance to apply like a heal buff or to your own team or like unrecoverable in the enemy. And then the dark one could be like buff block or something. I don't know, something weird.
Yeah.
Or like destroys HP or something.
The skill one has a slightly higher multiplier, but I think a debuff is like so much better than that, honestly.
Well, the thing is, it only makes sense in certain units, right? Because it's all attack scaling. It's only attack scaling, and only 2 of them have good attack.
True.
All the other ones have terrible attack.
If we dive into the Street Fighter unit, I think Water Ryu is like fantastic. It's gonna be meta soon. Can't wait to see it. But on the other hand, the M Bison or the Slayer is a worse Darien somewhat. It's just really sad. So he has Destroy built in, so that's cool. You have a rune set built in, but his skill 1 do damage based on attack, aka nothing. His skill 2 does okay damage, but has 3-turn cooldown. So you're not going to destroy the enemy much or fast enough to make the damage reduction, the scale according to the amount destroyed, like worth it at all.
So for Borgnine, in my opinion, the Water Slayer. Okay, first of all the Slayers should have HP scaling on skill 1. I think we can unanimously agree on that.
Just like
with Borgnine specifically, what I want is on skill 2, 2-turn provoke. That's all I want. If you add HP scaling and you make skill 2 2-turn provoke, I think it's fine. I think it'll actually be pretty good.
I think the percentage can be a bit higher too. Destroy enemy HP by maybe 50-60% of damage down. It should destroy much faster so that the damage reduction can kick in quicker, like much quicker. Because if your team die very quickly, then you're gonna stand there and do pretty much nothing. Or maybe, you know, add defense break in skill 2. Provoke and defense break, maybe not.
Maybe.
And maybe add a revenge somewhere. Because this unit just feels like, it's I don't know, man. It barely do any damage. It barely do any damage reduction.
Instead of revenge, give it like a Bellio Beast Form passive. Every time you get attacked, you gain attack more.
That's a dark one.
We buffed the dark one too. We buffed them all, Sean. They can all get buffed.
And I think HP type unit, they should either have common leader skill or guild war leader skill. Give them arena leader skill just feels so weird. It's weird. It's just strange.
It's okay for the fire one, but that's about it. That's because solutions exist.
Yeah, just give them like common leader skill or guild war leader skill, please. They buffed Hey Gang recently, so they're probably not going to buff him again, right?
I think he's still weak.
Yeah, they try to make him like a conditional ragdoll, but most of the time he does nothing because the skill 2 is really shit. Without a defense break like Changpeng, this skill 2 doesn't really do anything.
If they really wanted to make Haegong strong, I think what they would do is they would say attack bar reduction effects are reduced by blank percentage. That would be really strong. So if they gave him like an AoE buff to his passive where it's like attack bar reduction effects are reduced by like 35% or something. When you Chiwu him, you might not be able to actually push his attack bar back fast enough.
True. And also, he feels like he's almost there as a unit that just stand there and is annoying. Just like, you know, things like Molly or Ragdoll. They exist to just stand there. And this guy feels like it. He stand there and when enemy do stuff to your team, they will give your team attack bar. So I think he's a little bit almost there. Like a small change would make him very relevant in those like turn 2 annoying healing shit that people are running nowadays. Alright, that was the water. But speaking of water stuff, that remind me of the Assassin family. Water Assassin used to be one of my favorite unit, and they literally make Water Chun-Li, and it's like, why does this thing exist anymore? I would love to see the Assassin family get buffed. Of course, we know the Dark one is really good, no denying that. But the rest of the Assassin family is kind of meh. They exist to be annoying in TOA hell, especially the Fire one. But they could use a buff, like Tanya, Awaken to Resistance. What the hell? So maybe some change, a little buff to the Assassin family will be very, very cool.
I'm not opposed to that. I used to enjoy using them in Guild Wars and Siege. Galleon, I have a Galleon for, not Galleon, Gemini Frigate. Tanya is always really nice. or Gemini frigates and Isabel if you haven't.
All right, moving on to the wind element. Arguably one of the strongest element in PvP right now, especially RTA. What do you think can see a small change here?
Chung Pung needs a buff.
All right, I'll end a video. Bye, everybody. I'll see you guys next week.
Chung Pung needs to be irresistible, guys. What do you think? I mean, if Ganny's irresistible, why is Chung Pung not?
My IQ just dropped by 50 right now after hearing that statement. Next up, he's gonna be like, Artemio need a buff.
Dude, we do need a buff Artemil. Skill 3 just reduced 100% of damage incoming. For real though, I think there's not too much to go on with when it comes to wind units. I think most of the wind units are pretty strong. A lot of them can use like really small tweaks. I actually think there are units that are too strong. But I didn't really want to get into nerfs today. I'd rather just talk about things we should see in the balance patch, which is generally buffs. So obviously Christina rework, Christina buff could be nice. I think all the beast monks could use a new leader skill, whether that's Guild Wars leader skill or a common leader skill, just something to give them a little more flair, because dungeon leader skill sucks a lot and doesn't make any sense at all, but we have it anyways. Yeah, overall not too much. Wind Ryu and Wind Bison both kind of suck a lot. Like a lot. Like Wind Ryu might be the worst. Like I'd rather have Christina than Wind Ryu.
Christina, I think first, let's talk about Christina. I like this unit. When I got her, I use her, I'm like, oh, very good damage and it's cool. But I think skill, the skill that do AoE damage, the rolling cannon, I think can be like the fire demon skill. Always have the better element to the enemy, so she can do consistent damage across element. That'll be very, very cool. And they can uncap her damage stacks, like how Lydia doesn't have any cap to her stack. So if they uncap her, oh, she's gonna hurt really, really bad, and she's really fun to use.
What if they added to her passive that all of her attacks are crushing hits? Now you don't need to build crit damage anymore. You just run raw attack.
That'd be interesting to see.
I like the idea of having more things that are crushing hits, so that way we could use crushing hit artifacts, and we also have the opportunity to look into running multiple attack slots on units, right? Like I built a lure that was like a full DPS lure, and it was just a speed attack, and it hits really hard actually.
Yeah, they buffed the damage of lure like a lot, like 100%. It's kind of funny to see. And she has strip too in that skill too. I mean, she has
strip and dots. She's good. She has pretty okay skills.
Yeah, like the skill set is kind of okay. The fact that she's nat 5 is weird, but I guess better stats. I get it, but yeah, could use a little bit uncapping her damage. They're trying to just nerfing her potential to be the real Lydia, because she's easier to skill up compared to Lydia. She has nat 4 counterpart, and she can be pretty nutty too. I think the Wind Ryu, that skill 3 is so dumb. When if you miss the first hit, you just stop hitting. Like this guy is so he's so insecure. He hit one time, he missed, and it's like, nope, I'm out of here. Stop hitting. Why don't you just continue hitting just for damage? It's so weird that if you miss the first hit and then you just stop doing anything. It's just a weird situation that he's in right now. And damage comparison, I think, is worse than Daphnis. I have a max skill one for a friend. Same rune set. Daphnis does so much more damage. So even if you do all the hit, you're not gonna do much damage either. So it's just kind of weird. The Bison, I think this guy can be good, but they don't have HP scaling in skill 3. It's kind of weird. Like he's like it feels like Ethna. That skill 3 that strips single target, and he also has some sort of AoE control. I think he's kind of cool. Can be relevant in guild content as well, because HP based unit like Commune Vigor and Wind Bison can be a thing, but he need HP scaling, and I think
I think it is.
Yeah, it's like it's exactly the same skill as the Water Cannon gun. Single target strip, and then AoE attack by pushback. So maybe if he can strip, maybe not 1 but 2 unit, I think that'd be cool. Like
I think it would just be fine HP scaling. I think that's all he really needs.
Or maybe steel buff. I don't know. Hey, that'd be cool too.
Like, I don't know. They could give him like, I want to say like changes awakening, because accuracy awakening is good, but I also think that if they gave him like an awakening on his skill 1 or something, it would be kind of cool. If it, or his skill 1 like steals attack bar.
I mean, speed awakening is kind of nice. A CC unit turn 1.
ROP, what are you doing?
I mean, just like Ethna with that god tier base speed, right? It can
And
be
then
similar to that.
she got buffed after her god tier base speed.
The buff to Ethna was so out of like why? Just why? Such a great unit already. All right, let's take a look at the light department. What do you want to see here?
Eludia, I want to change the awakening to accuracy from resist. I think
Yeah.
speed awakening is too strong, but accuracy awakening is fair and good.
And the same goes to any dumb awakening out there you have for all the unit. With this kind of awakening that doesn't make sense. I know last time there might be an intern who do this. But maybe just do something about the awakening. There are many units that has some dumbass awakening out there. Please. Anything else?
I want to change Narsha passive. So Narsha passive right now, the Light Beast Rider says, increases attack speed by 35% for each time an enemy gains a turn up to 5 times. This attack speed resets when your turn ends. In addition, decreases the enemy's attack bar by 30% with each attack. I think the attack bar reduction is really strong. However, I feel like the resets when your turn ends is really weak. I think the way it should work is it should stay the same, but they say every time it resets, you gain a flat 5% speed and you can stack it 4 times.
Just like how Masha is insane, right? Because she keep this
4 or 5
that she gets.
You basically, you can keep those stacks. I think Narsha should be able to keep the stacks in the same way that Masha does, or in a similar idea at least.
Still a strong unit though. Not gonna lie.
Passes 15% 5 times. Like I'm asking for 5% on Narsha. Like that's not that much.
And she doesn't have that god tier base speed too. She can strip, single target strip. Still a pretty good unit. After she strips, she can push attack bar back. I think overall Narsha is a solid unit, but compared to the other Beast Riders, feels really weak, which is strange because she's an LD, and usually LD version quite offset compared to the normal version. So
I would agree she's strong if she had the defense breaking skill. If she had fast link, but she has critical link. So like it does more damage because you have the damage scaling, but it doesn't defense break. So you're kind of on the weaker side.
Yeah, you kind of need a support to go with you. Compared to like
Narsha,
Barbara and Masha.
Yeah, or like Vigor, for example, is like a good one to pair with that.
Yeah.
You rotate turns fast enough, you get the defense break up, you can actually kill units.
I think one thing I want to see is Gilnea. I think they buffed Gilnea, and that's cool. This thing is a healing machine now. Every time I find this thing, I just cringe whenever I see the healing happen. It heals so much. It's really, really annoying. But then it falls into the problem of area, which is becoming a pure healing machine. And that just get countered very easily. If you somehow have a heal block on your team, then the healing doesn't do anything.
Like he heals for a lot. Like when I Lucian a Gilnea team with my quad Lucians, I don't usually kill it on the 4th Lucian amp. Because like he just heals a lot.
Yeah, this thing just heals a dumbass amount. But healing only is just not really that great. So some sort of cleanse in the passive will be cool. Like maybe if you had 5 stack, it would cleanse as well. Just a little bit more, some sort of utility in that passive will be pretty awesome. But the healing is great. So just a bit more, and he's gonna be something that people don't regret just pull. Because I think in the light department, almost every LD Nat 5, you get it, you're like, oh, I can use this here, and it's okay. But yeah, a small change could make him really, really awesome. Because the healing now is just toxic.
Yeah, just a tiny bit would just put him like right at that level where you're like, ooh, Gilnea.
Hell yeah. But yeah, light unit, really, really good. Any light 4-star? I think light 4-star also like pretty good. Like light Chun-Li, Tableau, insane unit. Molly. Do you want to see Molly nerf? Big
Very
question.
small nerf.
Really? What's the nerf gonna be like?
Is if you reduce the healing from 25 to 20, I think she's fair. Because you change the artifact healing as well down a decent amount. She just becomes a lot more manageable. It takes 4 turns to full heal versus 3, which is fairly notable in terms of turns. And I think her overall base stats are fine too. Like she has 95 base speed and low base. I think she has low-ish base defense. Let me double check before I actually make that statement. I don't know if that's true.
I think she hard carry a meta on her own, which is really, really crazy for a single unit.
She has really good base stats. She's just slow. She's just slow.
But now
I also, if they wanted to make a change that wasn't the passive, they could change air shield to have 1 more turn cooldown, because I think 3 turn cooldown is too short. I think 4 turn cooldown is fair.
But only for her though, because other version that has air shield will need that air shield. But yeah.
Yeah. So it's
really
Tetra. It's Tetra and Molly.
Really, really good unit. And not many things counter her. One of the counter that's free to play would be Vigor or Lauren. They have defense, break, and heal block. Both are pretty good to destroy Molly or the friends of Molly. So buffing stuff that counter is also a way for counters to do. But you know, buffing Vigor would be outrageous. Imagine buffing Lauren. We go from like I personally go from maybe we need a nerf to Lauren to do we need a buff to Lauren so that we can counter Molly with?
Funny.
Because this thing is so strong and not much can deal with her, and that is really, really scary.
Lauren was really strong, but then artifacts balanced her out because artifacts made like a lot of units way stronger, and she was like still squishy. Even with artifacts, she was still squishy.
Yeah, and then they introduced a more aggressive meta that kill off Lauren very quickly. So she's still good when you use the Lauren, but never mind. Okay, let's go to the dark territory where I think many things can use a small buff. What is your top dark unit? It's not like I'm biased towards Warrior or anything, but what is your top unit need to be buffed here?
Fermion.
I
want to change to Fermion passive.
Okay.
So like we were talking about before, I think something like immune to something would be really cool. So like Fermion immune to defense break would be sick.
Yeah,
right?
He'll be so tanky.
I wanted him to have built-in destroy on the passive, but I think maybe immune to defense break is pretty crazy. Like you can still control him, right? You can CC him, you can stun him, but you can't defense break him, which makes it harder to kill him.
And I think it's a fun unit when you build him with like heavy damage, you bring him into guild battle, you hit really hard. But realistically, when you bring him into other than that, then he get control and defense break, and then he die. He doesn't do anything. So
defense break I think would make it stronger.
Yeah, or immune to attack by reduction or stuff like that. Just immune to something. Doesn't have to be immune to everything, but immune to something.
Immune to attack break would not be that useful.
Yeah, just immune to something that would completely shut him down. I think would make him a very fun and strong unit to use in RTA or Guild War. Alright. What are the dark unit you want to see a change to?
Manananan passive. I think Manananan passive should be able to kill on splash.
Yeah, that'd be cool. It's just weird that he doesn't kill on the AoE damage. And that leaves things like Miho, Garo to 1 HP, and those things with 1 HP can still destroy you. So that'll be nice. So allow him to kill with the AoE damage. That'll be really, really cool. I think they can buff Nyx a little bit. I think they can give Nyx the ability to make enemy debuff last for 1 turn only, like how they do it in TOA Hell. I think that will make him a total counter CC. Now he's like almost there, but people who have Nyx would really know that when you use him, it's also a gamble whether he does anything or not.
Nyx skill 2 should be 100% harmful effect rate.
True. Just like how they improve Nephthys.
Skill 3 basically. So yeah, he needs the skill 2 to hit.
Or maybe add something to his skill 2. Add another debuff. Take away his accuracy awakening. I think that's stupid. He's not something that's gonna sit there and land debuff. He's something that sit there and protect your team with the passive. So awakening into accuracy just feels kind of dumb. But so awakening into overwhelm will be
okay.
Kind of
if you give him an awakening, you should awaken his skill 1 into strip and slow debuff.
That is just rebuffing him.
Yeah,
I would rather give. I want to give him a
carefully.
debuff though into skill 2.
He needs that like ability to strip, unlike the other ones. Like Nyx is weak because he amplifies control comps and he amplifies like these heavy debuff comps, but he has no utility to do any of that himself. He's just a passive.
Then I will give him the overwhelm skill to strip and then cooldown reset 1 turn. Or maybe give him a real debuff in that skill 2 so that he can elongate his own debuff too. Now he has like a glancing in skill 1, which is kind of lame. Give him like slow attack break, something in skill 2 so that he can elongate that on his own and he become like a debuff counter and a debuff heavy unit. I think that'll be fun for him.
Making his skill 2 into anti-cleanse. That's what you do. You give him the anti-cleanse veil buff on skill 2.
And then he elongate that on his own. Oh shit.
Yeah. Nuts.
Yeah, something he need more debuff so that he can shine with his passive. Because now when you pick him, he just sit there and he may do something you don't even know, and you just have to pray that he does something. It's kind of weird. Personally, I want them to just take away War Young skill 3, and that skill doesn't need to be there anymore. I think it's just a dumb skill now. Like when she used to be like the aggressive unit with attack based healing, then the skill makes sense. You know, you build her high damage, but now you build her as a turn 1 buff unit. You're lucky to have crit rate, good damage, and attack to even do some damage. I might as well make skill 3 a passive that give her a full support capability. I think that'll be nice. And
Skill
change her.
3, ignore defense and scales on attack. No crit, just scales on attack. You don't need the crit. Just to say the skill cannot crit.
Crushing
and then
hit.
give it.
just crushing hit, bro. Skill 3 crushing hit.
They're honestly really good. You do a lot of damage with crushing hits.
Because
Like
I think the change was kind of funny because she was good in arena, and the buff make her a bit better in arena, but she was already good. She was good in Rift Beast, and the buff make that healing become garbage for Rift Beast. Fun team for RTA. You know, turn 1, go in, flex on people with War Young and cleave them. It can happen. It's cool, but her skill can definitely make more sense. With that, skill 3 become something more of a support unit and change her type to support. Please, just give her more HP, less attack. Make her skill 3 a passive that give some sort of speed buff, more attack bar. Make her a full support. I would love to see it.
She's got really balanced base stats. She's like in a pretty good place. 10.7 KHP, 823 attack, and 600 defense is pretty decent.
Yeah, it's really hard for her to outspeed like real speedy unit like Chiu Barbara or Vanessa Okeanos or Vanessa anything, because she has like average base speed and less speed in leader skill. So outspeeding is not really realistic per se. So she needs something in that skill 3. I don't need that skill 3 to be there. It's just kind of lame. Doesn't really do anything nowadays. So make it a passive support unit. I think that'll be really cool, like Wedjet, you know. That's it for the video today, guys. Hopefully we see a balanced patch soon. And also check out Once in Love stream. Link will be down below.
Also, we have IRL giveaway. If you guys are looking for a Shuhua figure, you can we'll put that in the link below as well.
Definitely. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.